Hi everyone, this is Scott again from Under the Glow. Today I'm going to be converting the Warchief for my Wasteland warband. Here's a view of the parts. I'm going to start with the body, which is converting a Marauder horseman onto this Age of Sigmar chicken hawk creature. I'm not sure what they're actually called. This is a pretty straightforward conversion, getting the Marauder legs to fit the larger saddle of this creature. And after this, we're going to work on this main arm, which is going to be holding this whip. I wanted something kind of flowing and large to go, because he's on a large mount, so he needs a long weapon. This is a fairly detailed arm conversion. I'm bending it at the elbow so that he's pulling his arm back while he's swinging the whip, which means taking the axe off. It also means pinning through 3 pieces because there are 3 separate pieces for the handle. There's his hand, and then we put the top on, and we're going to get it to line up. It's really long, so it's kind of hard to line up actually. I want to make sure it's not hitting his body or hitting the animal body. And then this little piece on the bottom is just a little butt of the handle, which has a little piece dangling off, so make sure that's falling towards the ground. And as we glue the arm on here, we'll kind of take a look at it, and it's got a good flow to it. The guy's holding it out, it's flowing in the wind, he's swinging it down on somebody, so it's in a forward motion. Next up is his cloak, which again is flowing in the wind. This piece is pretty simple, but we just wanted something that's going to be eye-catching. And then moving on to the head, I realized that his shoulder was a bit too high, so I clipped off his side horns, which gives him a better fit and kind of a sleeker look actually. So something to pay attention to when you're working on your models is posing, especially with the heads. You want to make sure that your characters aren't just deadpan looking forward. So I have him looking off to the left here. It could very well be that he's swinging his whip around to the left. Just want to give him some character and give him some focus so he's not just moving forward. So here I'm attaching his Bionic arm, which I thought was a cool addition to make him not just a fantasy character. I ended up having to pull it off later because I was running a wire through it, but it's good to give me a sense of how it would fit on the model. And next we're moving on to attaching the creature's tail. On this little bit, I just want to point out that gluing his whip to the tail so there's an extra point of contact, it helps keeping those things from breaking off later, especially because they're so thin. And next up, I'm going to do the reins to the creature, which I'm going to do with some really thin brass rod. I'm drilling some holes into the creature's head so I can glue the rod into it and then bend it around. And this is where I ended up taking the guy's arm off so that I could properly drill through it and put the brass rod actually directly through the hand. So here's what it looks like with the brass rod completed. Next up, I'm going to do some green stuff work, which I started off filling in a bunch of gaps, but the bulk of my work was spent doing these reins. Bulking up that brass rod with green stuff will make it stronger. It also just makes it visually thicker and looks more like what it's going to end up looking like, which is a piece of leather rather than just a string. So I spent quite a bit of time on the reins, which I skip over a lot of, but the important thing to note is with green stuff, taking your time. It does cure relatively quickly, but you have more time than you think, especially with things like just smoothing it and shaping it. It's less tacky after a few minutes, but it's still pliable, 20 or 30 minutes later. So it's easy to work with once you get the hang of it. Here, doing fur, again, all of this is from one batch of green stuff, and I probably spent 20 or 30 minutes total doing all of it. So here he is, the finished Warchief for my warband. I'm going to be posting the last few members soon, so please like and subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks.